So now that Nintendo's president has finally confirmed the existence of the next generation Nintendo system and the Nintendo Switch 2, they made the announcement earlier that we are going to see the reveal for the successor to the Nintendo Switch before the end of Nintendo's fiscal year, which is going to be ending in March of 2025. And so really, as we're getting closer now to that reveal for the system, it seems like more and more information is just going to start coming out, and today we might have actually just gotten the full real specs and performance for what the final version of the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be like, and there's actually a really good reason to believe that these are pretty credible and are actually going to be the real deal, and they sound incredible, so I really want to talk about it with you guys and give you guys my thoughts. So getting right into it, it seems like the specifications and actual technical details for the next-gen Nintendo system and the Switch 2 hardware may have come out, and this is coming from leaks that are happening between manufacturers and shipping data that people were actually able to look into, as you can actually find that shipping data online and look at the customs and all of that information. And so I guess some people on the Fanboards forum have been doing that and keeping up to date with like shipments going between Samsung, Nvidia, and Nintendo, and by taking a look at like what's detailed within those shipments, we can figure out which types of components are going back and forth between Nintendo, and obviously if they're getting a ton of a specific type of component, it's most likely because they're getting those ready to make the Nintendo Switch 2, as I'm sure the assembly and actual production of them is going to be starting very soon. And so by seeing those types of things going back and forth and analyzing what types of components we have, we can look at those components and then have those components to then figure out what the specs are going to be for the Switch 2, and that's pretty much what people have done. And so right off the bat, this is already more credible than somebody just saying like, according to my sources, I've heard this and I think it's going to be like this. This is just real information that we have that we can look up right now about things that are going back and forth between Nintendo and Nvidia and stuff. So there's obviously got to be a reason why this type of stuff is happening, because it's literally right there and we can actually see these types of shipments. So because of that, it's very likely that these are probably going to be the real deal, or at least somewhere around the ballpark of this, because of course nothing is confirmed, but I'd be very surprised if all of these shipments between Nintendo and Nvidia and stuff just end up being for nothing. And so taking a look at all of the information, the most important thing that we have from all of this is the RAM, as the Nintendo Switch 2 is apparently going to have 12 gigabytes of RAM, which is made up of two 6 gigabyte LPDDR5 modules. This is a huge upgrade coming from the current Nintendo Switch, and I would honestly say that the current Nintendo Switch's RAM is one of the biggest key components in what's holding back a lot of third-party support for the Nintendo Switch, because the more RAM that you have, the more it can be used by developers, and a lot of developers want to have a lot of RAM to work with because that's what allows for them to be able to have faster load times. They can call in upon a lot of resources and things and have things load in faster, have different assets and things like that that can be used much faster. So the more RAM you have, usually it's better for developers, and the current Nintendo Switch only has 4 gigabytes of RAM, and not even all of that RAM is used just for games, because there's a chunk of it that needs to be used to actually run the system, like the home menu and the UI and all of that. And so because of that, having 12 gigabytes now, even if like 2 gigabytes is used for like the actual system for the Switch 2, having like 10 gigabytes for a developer to work with is going to be such a huge upgrade coming from the current Nintendo Switch. And just overall in general, going from 4 to 12, we're going to see a 3 times upgrade, but even that, like just the actual RAM itself, I'm pretty sure the Switch has like DDR4 RAM. This is going to be like some of the most cutting edge technology with using DDR5. So if this is actually the case, this is going to be great. I was really hoping that Nintendo would actually decide to have like 16 gigabytes for the Nintendo Switch 2, as I feel like that would have been the ultimate perfect timeline, but I really did not want them to use 8 gigabytes of RAM, because if it was just 8 gigabytes, it would have been really bad for third parties immediately as soon as the system came out, and it honestly might have been a big factor for them to actually go with 12 gigabytes, because 12 gigabytes is definitely a good amount to work with. There should be a lot that can be done with 12. I still think 16 would have been perfect, but 12 is absolutely really fine too. I just didn't want them to use 8, because if they had 8 gigabytes of RAM on the Switch 2, it just would not have been the right decision. So I'm glad that Nintendo decided to not cheap out on the RAM, if this is actually true, and this is definitely going to make Nintendo games look really good, but of course this is going to be very important to get a lot of third-party support on the Nintendo Switch 2, and that is very nice. And then the second piece of big information that came out from this is about the storage, and so it seems like Nintendo is going to use UFS 3.1, which stands for Universal Flash Storage 3.1, and it's going to come with 256 gigabytes on the actual system itself. So this is absolutely a huge upgrade finally coming from the current Nintendo Switch, which comes with just 32 gigabytes on the actual console itself. If you got the Switch OLED, it comes with 64, but it seems like the Nintendo Switch 2, when you buy it, it's going to come with 256 gigabytes, which is definitely a really good amount to come with. I mean, when it comes to Nintendo's own games, I feel like that should be fine, but definitely to have third-party support now too, that's going to be good too. But it also means that they're using a new type of storage, kind of in terms of like how the speeds are going to work too, because it talks about how it's using Universal Flash Storage 3.1, which I've heard is a technology I think that they're using with Samsung, and it seems like the cards with that they're using for the memory aren't even out yet, because those are going to be coming out towards the end of this year in 2024. So I guess Nintendo and Samsung probably made a deal about it. So basically, when the Nintendo Switch 2 comes out, it is going to be using like literally the most cutting edge, latest technology from Samsung to get the fastest load times and storage capacity for the Nintendo Switch 2, and that's really awesome too if that ends up being real. The speeds still don't match quite to the level of like the Xbox Series X, but it's going to be just a little underneath it, and I feel like that's a perfectly fine amount to have, and I think that that's really good. And I mean, from all of this right here, if you want kind of just a general kind of estimate for what this looks like, basically handheld mode is going to be above a PlayStation 4 in terms of performance, and it's going to be kind of just around like a PlayStation 4 level. But when you dock the system, it is going to be between a PlayStation 4 Pro and an Xbox Series S, and that is before DLSS, where you can actually use DLSS, which is going to be NVIDIA's upscaling technology to make the games look even more sharper and clearer, as they're going to be upscaling it to higher resolutions like 1440p or 4K. And so essentially, Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be one of the most powerful systems when it comes to Nintendo games, and it's going to be just a little bit underneath the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X in terms of kind of just how games are going to be in terms of like how they look and how they're going to be on the system. Actually talking about the raw numbers and performance, obviously the Switch 2 is not going to come close to it. Like those systems are way bigger, you can fit much more powerful components into them, so obviously those are actually going to be just more powerful in terms of raw numbers. But because Nintendo is going to be using such up-to-date technology, as this system is coming out 5 years, if it's coming out in 2025, it's going to come out 5 years after the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, and a lot of technology has changed since then. And so this is honestly going to be the biggest performance leap when it comes to Nintendo systems in a very long time. And it's just going to be great to see what Nintendo is able to do. Like, imagine the next 3D Zelda game with performance like this. Imagine like what Monolith Soft is going to be able to come up with like the Xenoblade games. It is just going to be really good, and especially being able to see what third-party games can finally make it onto this as well. Because remember, you're going to be able to take this with you on the go and still be able to play it in docked mode, and it's going to be actually more powerful now, actually up to date with having better performance and stuff. And that's really kind of just what everybody wanted. Like, add some couple extra little features with the UI and stuff, and you really just have kind of the perfect system. And I feel like the Nintendo Switch 2 is really going to be the perfect system for me, because it's probably going to have backwards compatibility with all of your old games, so all of those come over, and you're going to have all of these amazing games that Nintendo is going to make for this new hardware itself, and that's just going to make it so perfect. And I can't wait to see when Nintendo does this reveal. But yeah, there you go guys, that is pretty much all the information that we have right now about the Nintendo Switch 2 in terms of its power and performance, and the detailed specifications and technical details that may have leaked from the manufacturing and data that is going back and forth between Nvidia, Nintendo, and Samsung. If you guys enjoyed the video, definitely be sure to click that like button, and also subscribe to the channel, as well as I'm definitely going to have some more videos talking about the Nintendo Switch 2 as the information comes out, so definitely be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on that. Comment down below and let me know what you guys think about all of this information as well. Does this make you guys very excited to see what the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be capable of as well, or are you a little bit disappointed by it? How do you feel about everything? Definitely be sure to comment down below and let me know. But if you don't have anything to say about this, just comment your favorite emoji down below for some engagement. I would really appreciate it. Go follow me on Twitter at Aero so you can be featured in videos, and also join my Discord server as well. We've got a bunch of people in there who are always talking about Pokemon and Smash Bros and Nintendo, so definitely be sure to join that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching.